And the WNBA, the gift that keeps on giving. Some of these players are flat out idiots, by the way. Make no mistake about it. Some of these players are flat out idiots. We got players chiming in on the Caitlin Clark assault by Alyssa Thomas, because make no mistake about it, it was an assault. Alyssa Thomas ass should have been suspended for 5 to 7 games, if not more. If not more. Okay. We got Dejanay Carrington jumping in, Natasha Mack jumping in, all of this stuff. We also have Natasha Howard blasting Stephanie White. Boy, oh boy, we in for a doozy.
The absolute facade of sisterhood in the WNBA just completely disintegrated on live television. And what is happening behind the scenes right now is nothing short of an absolute institutional mutiny. We are not just talking about a hard foul or a standard physical play on the court. We are talking about a calculated, hostile locker room culture that has completely boiled over into open warfare. When Alyssa Thomas forcefully targeted Caitlin Clark's upper body, the league stepped in with a pathetic, single-game suspension that was a total joke. But the real story isn't the slap on the wrist from the front office. It's the fact that this single moment just caused multiple teams, veteran players, and even high-ranking coaches to completely break protocol and turn on each other in the most public, messy way imaginable. You are locked into WNBA Verdict, the absolute authority on the raw power dynamics of the game. Tap that subscribe button, hit the like, and let's expose the systematic breakdown of an entire league. To truly understand how deep the rot goes, you have to look at the jaw-dropping betrayal that just unfolded between former players and Indiana head coach Stephanie White. Out of nowhere, veteran forward Natasha Howard decided to completely torch her former coach on social media, publicly praising rival mastermind Cheryl Reeve while sending a direct, devastating shot across White's bow. Howard explicitly stated that it is a luxury to finally have a coach who actually has her players' backs. An undeniable reference to the fact that Stephanie White has stood by in absolute silence while her own franchise player was subjected to relentless physical targeting. It took an opponent literally putting a fist to Clark's throat for White to even utter a word of defense. And the locker room has officially noticed that their leader has air floating between her ears. But that wasn't the whole story. The tactical incompetence coming out of Indiana has completely alienated the entire roster, creating a strategic vacuum that is painful to watch. While elite coaches like Cheryl Reeve are putting on absolute clinics utilizing the pick and roll to maximize their personnel, the Fever's coaching staff is actively running away from their best sets simply because they are terrified of being predictable. It is an
We got to get into it. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification, hype the video. That'd be greatly appreciated. As always, we're going to get right into things here. So let's start with Natasha Howard absolutely cooking. Absolutely cooking Stephanie White. Natasha Howard, I'm going to blow this up for you so you can see it a little bit better here. If you can, Natasha Howard was quoted as saying, when you have a coach that will have your back, then you have their
engineered, broken system that leaves their generational asset completely isolated and physically vulnerable on every single possession. Howard's public comments didn't just expose a personal grudge. They unmasked a complete lack of faith in the technical direction of the entire franchise. And what happened next would prove that the locker room hostility extends far beyond the borders of Indiana. The second the single-game suspension was announced, a toxic, coordinated online campaign erupted from players who are clearly unaccustomed to any form of public accountability. Instead of condemning a non-basketball act that could have caused severe physical harm, players like Tip Hayes and Natasha Mack immediately took to social media to launch a defiant defense. Mack openly broadcasted a free-at message to her followers, essentially co-signing the physical targeting of a colleague as if it were a badge of honor. These athletes are playing in an echo chamber, completely blind to the fact that millions of dollars and the entire credibility of their organization are on the line. They are treating a professional sports league like a back-alley recreation center, and the enabling behavior is getting nastier by the hour. But the internet wasn't done moving. Right on cue, Dejanay Carrington just couldn't resist inserting herself directly into the chaos, proving once again that she will eagerly ride the coattails of any negative narrative to keep herself relevant. Carrington immediately began magnifying anti-Clark sentiment online, dragging up old, irrelevant footage of Sophie Cunningham from a year ago to deflect from the literal assault that had just occurred on primetime television. It is a predictable, exhausted playbook from a player who realizes that without the massive spotlight generated by the rookie class, her own operational footprint in this sport is completely microscopic. She is actively celebrating the physical targeting of a peer because she knows controversy is the only thing keeping her name in the headlines. But as shocking as the player behavior has been, the coaching ranks were about to execute an even bigger betrayal. In a move that is deeply disturbing for the integrity of the profession, Phoenix Mercury associate head coach Kristi Tolliver.
Back to, I'm happy we have a coach like that. And look at this. Sometimes things are revealed after players leave. Cheryl stood up for Natasha Howard, and this was her response afterwards. Damn, damn, damn. Stephanie White, you promised Natasha Howard something in Indiana upon her return, which I believe that's why this lady was talking about, oh, I would like to win MVP and all of this other nonsense. And Natasha Howard went and put out a statement saying, look, I'm rolling with Cheryl Reeve. Make no mistake about it. I'm rolling with Michelle.
Publicly stepped into the mud to validate the hostility. Tolliver actively co-signed the actions against Clark by weaponizing iconic political quotes, suggesting that her side was taking the high road while her players were literally executing physical targeting on the floor. When you have high-ranking organizational leaders, individuals pulling executive salaries, openly validating non-basket violence against a competitor, the entire system is compromised. It is a disgusting, embarrassing look for a professional brand that claims to prioritize player safety, proving that the resentment toward the league's biggest draw is a top-down mandate. And the silence from the executive suites is deafening. Where in the world is team president Kelly Krauskopf while her franchise's ultimate asset is being hunted on live television? Krauskopf, Amber Cox, and Lynn Dunn have overseen an absolute disaster of a front office, staying completely hidden under the radar while their product gets dragged through the mud every single night. The leadership vacuum in Indiana is total, and every single one of these executives should be facing immediate termination for failing to protect the physical and operational integrity of their team. They are letting a multi-million-dollar phenomenon get battered by a league that looks more like a cage match than professional basketball, and their inability to control the narrative is a masterclass in executive incompetence. The ultimate takeaway from this absolute circus is that the WNBA is actively trying to burn down its own house just to spite the guest who bought the matches. The players and coaches are so blinded by ego, so consumed by a palpable, toxic resentment of unprecedented popularity, that they are willing to co-sign physical violence and torch their own locker rooms just to protect their fragile status quo. They are driving into a wall at full speed, completely oblivious to the reality that a rising tide is supposed to lift all boats. If this organization doesn't immediately clean house, establish actual discipline, and protect the players who are generating the revenue, they will permanently remain an unserious, low-rent operation. The era of zero accountability is officially over, and the clock is ticking on the entire federation.